Jonathan David, of course, one of those players that's come up in a bit of a different way as well. Of course, he wasn't part of an academy system with MLS, and that was before the CPL. But he's been linked with Napoli. Per Fabrizio Romano, one of many clubs to potentially make an offer for him. He's been linked to every club that's not just big, but that second tier of clubs as well in Europe. What do you think of a potential Napoli move for Jonathan David, Brendan?
Yeah, I mean, when Fabrizio Romano says the club has put an offer on the table, and it's Napoli, who haven't yet locked up the Scudetto, they're thinking big, and they know that everyone else that they're competing with, whether they win the title or not in 2 weeks, is going to put an offer on the table for Jonathan David, or at least want to, right? So to get out in front of it shows how serious Antonio Conte is, and I mean, it'd be an interesting fit for them. Obviously, I think Romelu Lukaku has been not the piece that they were hoping for, and I think is past it. I do really like the way that Jonathan David might fit into that kind of new continental. It wouldn't even be continental because you include him, and look, the British Isles don't count as part of the continent. It's almost as if they're going with like Euro similar is what they're trying to do, as opposed to being traditionally Italian or traditionally Southern or South American, as Napoli has always been. Jonathan David and Scott McTominay, like the super duo. Who would have thought that when Lorenzo Insigne left Naples, if that's to come to be. So I think it's exciting, Alex. Inter would have been great if he was able to play with Tajon Buchanan. That's highly unlikely. AC Milan would still be great. I mean, look at the CONCACAF, the CONCACAF assembly that they have at San Siro right now at Milan. That would be cool as well. But I think that Napoli would be nice.
Well, Napoli does tick a lot of the boxes you want out of him, right? It's a club that's winning. If they win the Scudetto, that's 2 in the last 3 years after their long drought, which is cool. They'll be in the Champions League, which I think is another one you want from David. You want him to stay in that elite after the season he had. They play with 2 strikers, right? Lukaku, I know he's getting up there. He still had 13 goals, 10 assists. Maybe playing with Jonathan David, they could get the best out of each other. I love it. Look, I think for me, with Jonathan David as a free agent, he has that flexibility. I think, I look at Liverpool. I know that those rumblings have been thrown out there. I just think he would be perfect for that Arne Slot system, leading the line as a fluid striker, replacing what Darwin Nunez can't, being maybe a bit more of a reliable. Diego Jota is a great player, just can't stay fit. So I look at Liverpool 100%. You can't help but wonder about Barcelona. I know Lewandowski's still kicking it at a high level, but he is about to be 38. Even just having Jonathan David there in that environment would be great. But all of a sudden, if you're talking about Napoli as the 3rd, 4th, 5th choice, you can do a lot worse in terms of 3rd, 4th, 5th choices. I think that would be an ideal first choice for many strikers. And I think it shows how great it is for Jonathan David that as a free agent, he enters a market that's desperate for strikers. I get the push notifications seemingly every week from The Athletic. This team needs a striker. This team needs a striker. Who should they look at? And I think it really shows that, for as frustrating as it was to not see a David move in the years before, it feels like he's entering the market at a great time.
Yeah, I think when you look at what's best for Canadian soccer, it's definitely him going to the Premier League. And we had these conversations about Alphonso Davies last year, and when he was going through his conversations with Bayern Munich about staying or not staying, that having a Canadian player banging goals, playing a key role in the Premier League would be instrumental to growing the sport in this country and in North America, really, because we haven't necessarily seen a North American dominate the Premier League in that way since Javi Hernandez for his little bright spell at Manchester United.
Pulisic certainly not
Pulisic
didn't quite do it.
Yeah, not dominate. There's been stars and there's been very good players, and you could throw 2 Canadians in there, Paul Stalteri and at Fulham, Rosicky was at Fulham and kept his place for a few years. So there's definitely been an impact. I was randomly thinking of DeMarcus Beasley today, and this is in relation to Atiba's book at Man City, and there's a few guys, that American guys and North American guys that have gone, and you think okay, that they're going to be the ones that make the Premier League the big headline on all the big outlets on ESPN and TSN and Sportsnet, and it never really worked that way. And Jonathan David has the power to do that. He definitely does. Alphonso Davies had the power to do that. There's a part of me, though, that still worries, and this is from an older kind of generation, that a move like that, there's a protectionism that I feel for Jonathan David, and I am worried that a move to Liverpool could backfire. That I would feel more comfortable with a move that feels like a less pressure filled opportunity, and there'd be a ton of pressure at Napoli, whether they are the defending champions or not. But it's a different type of pressure, and I think mental strain that I just I don't know if he's ready for at Liverpool now.
Well, it's football, right? You're scared for every Alphonso Davies that goes and right away he's a perfect fit, right? Every Moise Bombito. There is an Ismail Kone, for example, goes to Marseille and it's just a tough situation. There is a Tajon Buchanan who goes to an Inter Milan. So I think there is always that. And that it just goes all the time, right? There's $100 million players who just you go to a club it doesn't fit, like Felipe Coutinho. I guess, the thing with Jonathan David, I think what's going to be fascinating, he's a smart guy. We know it. Jesse Marsh will say it to anyone that listens. He's the smartest guy he's ever coached. For me, I'm going to find it fascinating to see, like, what does Jonathan David feel is the best for him? He's a smart guy. He knows what will fit his strengths. He knows how he plays. I think the fact that he's going to use that to inform his choice is going to be so cool, because then you can look back and really ask him and see, like, what does he see? Like, maybe he'll see a Liverpool and for a completely other reason we're not even thinking. He's like, oh, I just won't work with this player. I won't work with this coach. And he'll completely throw one out of the hat, right? And maybe he'll sign with the team we're not even mentioning. And Arsenal, who knows, something like that. Who knows? And I think that'll be something really cool.
And not, of course, the only Canadian attacker with rumors this week. Tajon Buchanan reportedly not going to be staying at Villarreal permanently. A question from Renato Sousa and Nick Spirit on Twitter and Blue Sky. What do you think of this Buchanan rumor and him potentially, going back to Milan, not probably having a place there considering the success they're going through, and maybe being in the middle of another transfer saga for another summer, Brendan?
I mean, it's not that uncommon. And I think that, when they did the deal, it did seem like, and Alex probably has a number in front of him, I think it was like 17 million, which for me felt like a lot for Villarreal, who are, on a short kind of trial tester period, to see only still months removed from this major leg break. Like, oh, is this guy worth it to play at this level? Oh, by the way, it's going to be a 17 million euro commitment for you. Like, I'm not truly surprised. I always felt like it would have taken a lot, and I think that he's done well there. I didn't see the loan as like a final destination or a big rescue boat, as much as it was a boost for him, a boost to get back in the Nations League squad, a boost to get his confidence back, a boost to get minutes, and an opportunity that I think feels pretty balanced, considering what's unfortunate is now the uncertainty of going back to his club. But with the Club World Cup coming up, with that making preseason such a mess for like a lot of teams, I do think you'll see some teams, and Inter might be one of them, that use the Club World Cup as a hybrid preseason, which could provide him a great opportunity to either A, be in the shop window, or further improve his stock and raise his value at Inter. So it's not the worst situation for this to happen now. I think that he's shown in this recovery from his injury, the way he's played for club and country since January, that he's worth a look, and he will get an opportunity. It might not be at Inter, but I do think he'll get one that suits him.
We always joke about Denzel Dumfries getting sold, but hey, after 2 goals, 2 assists in the semifinals, maybe this is the year he gets sold. But if they win the Champions League, he might just never want to leave. But for Buchanan, I think if you look at it from a business standpoint, you do have to remember they're looking at this as an asset. Maybe this is something where they put that high buy clause, and they're just kind of thinking like, man, if he impresses at Villarreal and they buy him for that price, great. You're making a profit. They paid what, 5 mil for him, 10 mil? This would be a comfortable profit. I don't think there's going to be any shortage of suitors. There were 3, 4 in it for him at January, considering his injury history, all that. The fact that he's gone to Spain and done pretty well, he did pick up that ankle injury that derailed him. I think there'll probably be a reality where, okay, he doesn't go for the 17 mil. Maybe Villarreal, they make the Champions League and they negotiate a 10 mil transfer and they get to keep him. Or there's another club in a similar situation. But yeah, I definitely feel like my view heading into the summer, Buchanan knows he needs to be playing ahead of the 2026 World Cup. He and his agent are going to look at, if it's not Villarreal, a similar club where he's going to play in a club that's going to likely finish between 3rd to 10th in a top 5 league. And I think there will be no shortage of clubs who fit that bill, who can come in and pay that 5 to 10 million it'll cost, or even just do a loan and then try to figure it out during the World Cup next summer when his stock might be higher.